Whatever God's specific plan is for your life, find it, follow it, finish it. God reminds us in Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11 through 14, he says, in the Message Bible, he says, I know what I'm doing. I have it all planned out. Plans to take care of you, not abandon you. Plans to give you the future you hope for. When you call on me, when you come and pray to me, I'll listen. When you come looking for me, you'll find me. I'll make sure you won't be disappointed. God's decree, he said, I'll turn things around for you. Touch a neighbor, say, I'm in the right place at the right time. But may I just remind you of this, it's not enough to be in the right place at the right time, you got to be the right person. And when you have resolved in your heart to say, Lord, I'm going to be the right person, I'm going to be the right person. There are a few techniques that I want to do, but I don't have time to tell you the first one today. But I want to walk you through a process of how you can really come into an understanding of the knowledge of the will of God for your life. You don't have to just wander around and say, Lord, what am I going to do and what do you have for me? The first one is called the will principle. The will principle. The will principle. That you've got to be willing to lay down your will for God. Because you've got a will, but you've got to be able to be willing to let your own will and your own ambition die so you can find his will. You ever read the Bible in Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2? I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your body a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service and spiritual worship. And be not conformed to this world. He does not call us to conformity, to be just like everybody else. God made you unique. Why would you want to fit into a mold of what everybody else is doing, trying to blend in? When you blend in, you'll never stand out. And so why conform? You're not to be conformed, you're to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Why? So that you might prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. It is not until your mind becomes renewed that you're able to get the transformed thinking and you get the will of God. It's not three different wills, it's one will manifested in three dimensions. It is the one will of God that is both good and it is acceptable and it is perfect. It is good, acceptable, and perfect. God's will for your life. It is a good will. When you understand the will of God, it is not something that you decide, it is something that you discover. You discover what God has already decided for you. You begin to discover when you're the seed, whatever kind of seed that you are, you discover what kind of seed it is by the fruit that it starts bearing in your life. If you're a poet, you're going to have melodies that will come in a rhythmic fashion in your life. There will be words that will come to you when you're a poet, and the fruit will define to you the seed that you've been carrying all of that time. You won't even understand it. There's some of you that will have a tenacity in your spirit, and you were born a fighter. God made you a fighter, and it was in your seed. You didn't really decide it. You discovered what God had already put in you. And when you got people that are to be astute business people, they didn't just decide to go into business. They discovered that they had a business anointing in them. Those that go into law and are really called into it, they didn't just decide to go into law. They realized that they had an analytical mind that was argumentative in its nature. And it probably was a great challenge to their parents.